Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. It's your girl, the Ashley, and today we are here to discuss the Real Housewives of Potomac Season 6 Reunion Part 2. And before we get started, I'm in a very good mood because I received a little bit of tea from a little birdie who knows some inside information about Season 7. And let me just say, a lot of us are going to be very happy, okay? But we'll talk. I can't say anything, but just know that when the news does break, we're going to be right here. So I'm going to just leave it at that. So, with all that being said, let's just jump right on into it because we don't have a minute to spare. So we start off this second part with Mia and Candiace still going back and forth, just how we ended it last week. Mia says she won't let me talk, so F her. Then she goes on to say that her mom came on this show because she wanted to inspire other people by telling her story. Mia, again, you show time and time again that you are a liar because your mom has made it clear in several episodes that she does not want to discuss her issues. You guys had that lunch date. Your mom clearly said, Mia, I don't want to talk about this. I don't believe for 1 minute that your mom wanted to tell her story. I think that your mom wanted to make a few appearances. She thought it was kind of cool that you're on this show, but I didn't think that she came into this knowing that she was going to be your main storyline. I think that you're pathetic to use your mom in such a way. And if you were so concerned about your mom's sobriety, like I said in last week's recap, you would have never brought her on this show in the first place. So now Mia goes on to say how Candiace will never understand. So now Candiace says, look, you don't get to attack me and then tell me how to respond. And I agree. I feel like when it comes to arguments and you're going toe-to-toe with somebody, okay, it's a verbal sparring, you need to be prepared for anything that might come out of their mouth. And if you know that there's a topic that you're sensitive about, you should tread lightly. And some people really do live by that. When you go low, I'm going to hell. I'm not going to hold you. I know I do. Because I'm very even-keeled for the most part. I'm very down to earth. I'm a lot of fun. Like, I'm very easygoing. I'm not somebody who looks for trouble. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm a really cool person. So if you do take me to that point, then okay, the gloves are off, game over. You get what I'm saying? And I feel like Mia and everybody else on this cast, they want Candiace to sit there, shut up, and take their verbal abuse. And she is not going to take it lying down. And they can't take it. So Mia's getting upset and she says, her ass kicking is overdue, Andy. So Candiace says, oh, really? You gonna beat my ass? Now, for all these women to be against violence, how come nobody called Mia out for saying that? Because that could be perceived as a threat. So it's okay when Mia says things like that, but God forbid Candiace says anything, and then it's a problem. I was really irritated when Mia said that because I was like, how dare you? And Mia, you don't strike me as anybody's fighter. So here's where I really got pissed off. Karen decides to interject and she's chastising Candiace. She says, Candiace, I'm concerned. Are you talking to people like this on the street? So now Karen brings up how Candiace told her to burn in eternal hell last year. Now Karen, telling somebody to burn in hell is not a threat. Candiace was rightfully angry because you had gone to HR behind her back to get her fired off of the show. So I would have told you to burn in hell. I would have told you much worse, to be very honest with you. I can't stand Karen. She's disingenuous. She's a liar. And she is a friend to nobody but herself. She is loyal to that Bravo check through and through. And again, she is not to be trusted. And Wendy, I want you to watch out for her because you're sitting up here with this newfound alliance and newfound friendship with Karen, and now she's your mentor. But baby, remember how season 5, she couldn't stand you. And she made an offhanded remark behind the scenes about how you weren't a good fit for Potomac. I wonder why she said that. But again, I digress. So now Karen has the nerve to fix her lips to say how she and Gizelle, while they dice each other, and they've been doing so for 6 years, they've never cut to the bone, and how they shade each other with a twist of humor. Now, Karen, there is nothing cute, funny, or humorous about joking about somebody's mental health. You allege in episode 1 that Gizelle was in Sing Sing, meaning that she was in a mental hospital because she'd had a nervous breakdown while she was getting divorced from Jamal Bryant. There's nothing funny about that. There's nothing funny about saying that somebody has STDs. Gizelle wearing that free Uncle Ben shirt and making jokes when Karen and Ray were having their tax issues, that wasn't funny. That was cutting to the bone to me. I would have been devastated if I were going through financial hardship and here these ladies are laughing at me. That's not funny. But again, anything that y'all say or do is acceptable, but let Candiace defend herself and it's an issue. So now Gizelle interjects and talks about how Candiace responds with like everything in her at a full 100%, and they don't do that. I said again, all lies, because we've seen all of them say some really nasty stuff in the midst of an argument. So again, miss me with all of that. So now Andy brings up how Candiace body shames a lot. So then he turns to ask Mia about the size of her feet. She says that she wears a size 12. And I said, Lord, I know that she probably struggles in finding shoes. Like, especially designer shoes. If she wants Christian Louboutins, I know he does make size 12s, but Louboutins are so narrow and tight. Lord, I don't know how she does it, but I said, God bless. So Candiace says, well, be that as it may, if I recall, Ashley has done quite a lot of body shaming too, because I remember how she called Charisse's titties saggy, and also she was making a joke about Mia's vagina being beat into a pulp. So Ashley's sitting there looking stupid because she knows it is true. Now, it's really interesting how everybody has all this selective amnesia when it comes to what they've done, but everybody can remember and be laser focused on everything that Candiace has ever said or done throughout her time on this show. And I said not too much on Candiace and the body shaming comments, not when Karen has made multiple jokes about Miss Gizelle's stovepipe legs, all right? That's body shaming too. So again, if we're gonna call out Candiace, let's call everybody out. So now Andy reads a viewer question about, has Candiace ever considered anger management, and why did she throw the lettuce? Candiace, I'm gonna be honest, I feel like you should not have thrown the lettuce. You know that these women are out to get you. You know that they are looking for any little thing to use against you. You should not have thrown that lettuce, period, point blank. And you know how I am. I would have been real pissed at you because it's like I paid for all this food for all of us to eat. And now here you go, sticking your narrow fingers in that lettuce, and now the food is ruined. So I would have been pissed at you about that. You would have had to reimburse me for all that food, okay? So Andy goes on to ask Wendy, how does she feel about how Candiace responds to things? Wendy says, you know, I have my girls back, but when it comes to Candiace, she is always going to stick to the landing. So now Karen interjects and says, I'm afraid if you keep going the way you're going, we're all going to tune you out. I said that right there is coded language, and that is a clue that come next season, if they are all back for next season, they will be icing Candiace out. I said, girl, I hope that your music career takes off because, baby, you really might have a rough road ahead come next season. It's like, are we watching the same show? Because what a joke for you to say that it's abuse of the tongue in regards to Candiace when you have Ashley Darby sitting there on that cast. So now Gizelle jumps in and says, well, Candiace, there's never been an altercation. So Candiace says, oh, well, really? Are we doing that? Because I remember how you guys rolled up on Ashley at her restaurant in season 2. So now Robin says, well, I was mad at Ashley and all I saw was red. So that's your excuse, Robin? It's just so funny how there's this lack of accountability. Robin was dead wrong rolling up on Ashley. I can't stand Ashley, but even I can say that that was wrong. You don't roll up on anybody at their place of business threatening them with your fingers in their face, especially if you're somebody who does not believe in violence. And I was cracking up laughing when Gizelle said, well, I didn't know what Robin was going to do. I said, girl, stop, because in that episode, you were cheering Robin on when Robin was getting all crazy with Ashley. Robin says, but Candiace, you don't think that you take it too far? And it's like, are we in the Twilight Zone? It's madness at this point that you guys excuse all of your deeds, but now you want to hold her to a different standard. So now they get off of that, and Andy brings up how Mia has been a total Twitter disaster. And that's an understatement. Mia has made a true ass of herself on Twitter. Like, her tweets are so wild and nasty. I mean, she's up there saying the most outrageous things about people, talking about somebody's husband wants to toss her salad, then she's poking fun at Escala and Escala's lifestyle. It's just like, her attitude is just so nasty. So now Mia owns up that she has been a disaster on Twitter, but she's going to do better. So now Gizelle interjects and says, girl, that was you, not any social media manager. So now Mia goes on to say how it was her social media manager, how she's known her social media manager for 20 years. They're all like, girl, bye. I mean, Mia is just a bold-faced liar. There is no social media manager. It's Mia waking up at the crack of dawn to talk poorly about her castmates, like the clown that she is. So Candiace is like, so was it your social media manager who blocked me on Twitter, or was it you? So Mia's like, oh, you're blocked? Candiace is like, girl, can you stop? Like, you know good and damn well that you blocked me. Like, just own up to it. So now Wendy interjects and says, Mia, so you're telling me that you hired somebody to wake up at 7 a.m. to talk about everybody? And how would your social media manager know that Escala lives in a townhouse? So now Escala says, yes, inquiring minds would like to know too. Like, how would your social media manager know that? And side note, I forgot that Escala was even there, because I swear to you, Escala said like 2 words. Did you see how crazy Mia looked when, I think it was Andy brought out like the screenshots of all her tweets, and she was looking at them like she had never seen them before? It was like, Mia, you are such a bad actress. Just own up to it, sis. That was you saying all that nasty stuff, and now you're trying to pin it on somebody else. Well, no, you're trying to pin it on an imaginary person. You have no social media manager. So now Andy lobs a question over to Escala regarding Escala saying that Mia was kind of classist. So now Escala says, look, every time we hung out, Mia was always bragging about how much money she made, about all the businesses that she owned. She was just always talking down on people and looking down her nose on folks. And it was just really irritating. And you can tell that Mia is not used to money. It's still a new thing to her. Nobody with some sense, some decorum, or class would ever brag about how much money that they have or make. And again, since you want to brag about how you make almost $500,000 a year with all your franchises, then how come you haven't called up the nearest Intercontinental, Ritz-Carlton, or Four Seasons, my dear, and gone to their spa and gotten that skin together? Because the Four Seasons has a fabulous spa, dear. And I mean, they could get those pores together, I promise you. So Andy comes to Mia's defense and says, it's your first season, you probably got caught up in the moment and just got a little bit wacky. She says, yes, I'm gonna do better going forward, and I'm just not gonna care about these girls. So now Candiace says, well, that's not a friendly answer. And it's not. Like, all you had to say, Mia, was, Andy, you're right, I'm going to do better. I should not have said what I said. I didn't like how she didn't apologize to Escala about that townhouse comment. That was very nasty of her. And it just shows that Mia thinks that having money is a personality trait. And she equates money to worth and value. And it shows that she's still insecure about her upbringing, and that's why she has to constantly remind people of how much money she has, how well she's doing, where they live, what they drive, and you sound and look just as tacky as you want to look. You might have more money than a Scala, but a Scala outdresses you, okay? She's running laps around you in the fashion department. So let's not. Because again, if you have so much money, girl, why aren't those fashions together? Why aren't you at Neiman Marcus? Because some of those pieces I said, okay. I'm going to just keep it right at that. I'm going to table that conversation. We're going to talk about that another day, all right? But Mia, darling, you have some designer bags in the mix with some of those clothes. I said, okay, girl. It's not giving what the girl said it was supposed to have gave, in the words of the iconic Rolling Ray. Again, Mia is a walking read. So it's so funny to me that she has a lot of slick stuff to say about these other girls. But I digress. So a Scala is dismissed, and I said, now wait. While a Scala didn't say more than 2 words, how come she can't sit through the duration of this reunion, but Kathy Hilton and her boring self got to sit through the entire reunion, parts 1 through 4 in Beverly Hills? And Kathy was also a friend of. I said, So now it's break time for everybody. All the ladies go into their hotel rooms to just decompress and just get their breath for the next round of shade and questioning. So Wendy goes into Candiace's room and she's like, look, I just want to check on you, make sure that you're okay. And I also want you to know that I have your back. Candiace says, when I said your mama, I could have said so much worse, but I didn't. She adds that yes, her responses are harsh, but if you leave her alone, then you won't have to deal with it. And I get it. Like, if you leave me alone, we're good. We won't have a problem. Like, I'm cool. I got you. I like you. I love you. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like that's why Candiace's responses are so harsh, because people come for her first. I've been meaning to say this in quite a few recaps now, but it's always escaped me. But I wonder if Candiace dealt with maybe like bullying or like teasing when she was younger, because she operates with that mindset of, look, I'm an adult now. Nobody's going to sun me. Nobody's going to punk me. Like, if you come for me, I'm going for the jugular. Just a thought. Again, let me know what you guys think down in the comments. So now all the ladies are back on the set, and it is now the Karen and Gizelle portion. We're watching the montage of them going at each other all season long, and then Andy starts it off by asking Karen, what does she mean when she said that Gizelle had a fiery box? So Karen says, I got it from the blogs. So I was just confused as to how it's okay to throw out a rumor about somebody having an STD, and that's just water under the bridge. That's a pretty serious allegation, if you ask me. So now Andy brings up the whole wishing death on Ray debacle. I said, Lord have mercy, Jesus, for the last time, Karen. I can't stand Gizelle, but damn it, I'm not going to sit up here and lie on the lady. She did not wish death on your husband, and you know it. You were grasping for a moment and for a storyline. Gizelle made that comment in season 2. It is season 6. And like Gizelle said, if you had such a problem with it, then why didn't you address me about it? Season 3, season 4, season 5, you had all this time and said nothing until now. And you know how I know that Karen knows that she was reaching, because when she said, I know that you didn't mean that, but still, how would you feel if I said that about your dad? I said, now, here's where you continue to trip yourself up, Karen, because you're saying that she wished death on Ray, but then in the same breath, you're saying, well, I know that you didn't mean it that way. Karen thinks that she is smarter than she is because your point makes no sense. You know that she was not wishing death on Ray. You just admit that you know that that's not what she meant. So why are we still having this conversation? And you bring your daughter into it saying, well, you know, she can't stand you and she told me not to say anything. I said, girl, stop. I don't doubt that she dislikes Gizelle because I would not like anybody who didn't like my mom either. But I do not believe that Raven said don't say anything because your daughter knows that you were on a show about women arguing and shading each other. So I really doubt your daughter said, Mom, don't say anything. So now the conversation changes gears and Andy addresses Gizelle, bringing up the rumors about Eddie. So Wendy, of course, is upset, and she goes on to say, for this to happen, and it's out on the blogs, and my kids can read. So here's where I hit the floor. Gizelle responds back and says, but Wendy, you were looking at my daughter cock-eyed crazy. So Wendy's like, girl, what? Like, what are you talking about? So Gizelle brings up when they were at her construction site for the Reasonably Shady party, and Grace was walking towards the driveway, because remember, she had just parked Candiace's car. So while Grace is walking, I guess Wendy was looking at her, you know, she was just looking. And in my opinion, Wendy wasn't looking at Grace any sort of way. You know how you'll be staring into space and you might have like a weird expression on your face, but that's normal. So Wendy says, I apologize to Grace, but make sure that you apologize to my boys, Carter and Cruz. I just was floored. Y'all, please let me know what you think down in the comments. I feel like Gizelle was reaching. I did not get that impression that Wendy was staring at Grace with any bad intentions or any ill intent. I don't know if I'm being naive. I swear to you, I'm not being biased. I just felt like Gizelle was reaching. And my parents used to always say to me, stop taking everything so personally. If you see somebody looking and they have a weird expression on their face, stop automatically assuming that it's about you. They could be thinking about their bills. They could be thinking about maybe a loved one. They could be thinking about a whole bunch of things. It doesn't mean that they're thinking bad things about you. I just would like to believe that Wendy would not be, you know, wishing ill or being upset at a child over what the child's mother has done to her. I don't know, y'all. Again, let me know what you guys think in the comments. Did you guys think that Gizelle was reaching with that one? Because I thought she was. Just saying. So now Andy brings up the Sing Sing comment that Karen made about Gizelle. Now, if you don't know, on the blogs, there's speculation that while Gizelle and Jamal were going through their divorce, Gizelle had a breakdown that led her into a mental facility, okay? For the topic of mental health being a big deal, I just found it very careless that Karen could make such a nasty, reckless comment like that. You don't have to like Gizelle, because Lord knows I can't stand her. But to weaponize somebody having a mental breakdown, that's not cool. Second of all, if Karen is a champion for people's mental health, that's a very low blow. Third of all, for you to say that Candiace goes for the jugular, for you to say that Candiace has abuse of the tongue, well then what do you call going after somebody's mental health? So Karen says, I said it because I thought it sounded good. I said, what kind of immature BS is that? That's a very wild statement to make about somebody and then cover it up with, well, you know, I just said it because I thought it sounded good. Like, girl, what? Now Robin interjects and says, and Karen, don't forget, you also said that Gizelle's a drug addict. Now, y'all were getting on Candiace when Candiace said your mama because of Mia's mom's history, but it's okay for Karen to say that Gizelle is a drug addict. Got it. If y'all don't see the colorism on this show by now, then I truly don't know what to tell you. So Candiace is just sitting there shaking her head like, is this a joke? Like, all the nasty things that they've said to each other, but I'm getting, like persecuted over what I say? So then Gizelle and Karen say, well, it's a difference because we don't want to fight. Then Karen goes on to say, and yeah, because when we say something, it's a fact. I said, so it's a fact that Gizelle has STDs and was in Sing Sing and is a drug addict? What are you saying? So now Andy wants Gizelle and Karen to say something nice about each other. I think Karen says that although they might, fuss and fight, she respects Gizelle for being a good mother and how motherhood is what ties them together. Gizelle says that she was really touched seeing Karen hug and embrace her daughters because Karen has watched them all grow up. So now Gizelle starts crying and Andy's like, oh my gosh, I think that this is the first time ever seeing you cry. Karen gets emotional, and I kid you not, I was rolling my eyes during this entire segment. I said, really? I foresee a newfound alliance between Karen and Gizelle. They're going to team up all next season, and they're going to ice Candiace out. Mark my words. I'm not buying this newfound lovey-dovey, oh, let's just put our differences aside and let's be BFFs again and ride off into the sunset. They're forming some alliance. I don't trust either of them. I said, this is BS. Karen goes on to say that hopefully they can be lighter and funnier with each other, and then they give each other a hug. I said, okay, like y'all can both just sit down. Now we move on to the Ashley segment, and I'm gonna breeze right through this because you know how I feel about Ashley. She gave nothing this entire season. Boring. This needs to be her final season. But anyhow, Andy brings up Michael wanting to go into the movie business. Andy reads a viewer's question about Michael wanting to get into porn. And so Ashley starts laughing. I said, yeah, girl, that was a real nervous laugh because knowing your husband, he probably does want to go into porn. So now Andy goes on to ask about their sex life. And Ashley says that they're all good. Everything is back on track. She feels sexy again. They're getting it in. So now Gizelle interjects and she's like, so does that mean that there are some ladies in the picture? Like, are y'all having threesomes again? Are you guys going on some like trips to Ibiza to pick up women? And so Ashley's like, I mean, like not yet. Like I said, girl, you already know that you're opening that marriage back up because you are deathly afraid of Michael moving on and out to somebody else. You are doing anything in your power to keep that man at home. A mess. Now Andy turns to Candiace to read a viewer question about Candiace relishing in body shaming Ashley. So Candiace tries to answer and Ashley interrupts. I was like, girl, can you let her answer? And that's another thing. I noticed that they'll all speak, right? And Candiace won't say anything. But then when Candiace tries to speak, everybody and their mom wants to interrupt her. Andy reads another viewer question to Candiace about how Candiace is always making jokes about Ashley's breast milk. So now Candiace is like, you know what? I am just so jealous that Ashley has become a mom before me. I was screaming because Candiace put on her best acting chops for that. Ashley's upset and she goes on to say that when Candiace becomes a mom, then she's going to be apologizing to her. So then Candiace is like, no, I'm not. Like, get over it. Ashley says, you're always making nasty remarks to me, like always. So now Candiace says, but girl, so are you. and I'm a black woman and you said that I have dry hair and you're a lighter skinned woman with a looser curl pattern, am I supposed to be offended by that? So baby, why did Candiace even touch on the topic of colorism? Because the whole entire cast, except for Wendy, groaned. And so Ashley's like, you know what? Let's talk about this colorism issue right now because I'm just so tired of you making everything about color. I said, I'm sure you are, because colorist people usually don't want to hear when somebody calls them out about their colorist behavior. Now, Wendy jumps in and says to Ashley if she notices any colorism in this group. So Ashley says no, she doesn't. And she says that while she's a biracial woman and she understands her privilege, she doesn't see it in this group. And how it's a whole bunch of people who watch the show who project their issues onto this cast. I said nope, because y'all will not sit up here and play in my face today. The blatant colorism on this show, don't do this. Because y'all get away with murder and Wendy and Candiace are held to a different standard. I have never heard Gizelle, Robin, or Karen called aggressive, ferocious, angry, bitter. I have never heard anybody use those words regarding them. So let's not. Ashley, as messy, as vile, as awful as you've been all 6 seasons, nobody has ever used those words about you. The most you've ever heard is that you're messy. Y'all want to sit here and be obtuse, but I won't allow it. I did a video last year talking about the clear colorism and double standards on this cast. I'm sick and tired of it. And for you guys to pretend like it doesn't exist, I said, please miss me with it. Y'all just won't sit up here and gaslight the viewers. You're not going to sit up here and gaslight Candiace. Candiace might be a lot of things, but when it comes to there being colorism on this cast, she is on the money. I think that people have a very elementary understanding of colorism. There's a reason why Gizelle called Wendy throughout this season aggressive and angry when Wendy was having a good time. She did it several times when they were on the Chesapeake trip. Wendy wasn't bothering her and she's talking about, yeah, you see Wendy? She's just all aggressive, just so angry, just so bitter. How come she doesn't use that language to describe Karen? Karen has called her a whore, you know, this, that, and the third, but she's never referred to Karen as angry or bitter or aggressive or as hostile. How come? Again, we could be here all day, but there is colorism on this show and it needs to be addressed. And these are the times that I wish that there could be multiple hosts on these reunion shows, especially for the Black franchises. I'm not trying to take away from Andy, but I do feel like it's time for there to be some new blood to ask certain questions and to really steer the conversation in a different place that would be much needed. But again, I digress. So now Ashley throws out that Candiace called her a slave. Candiace says, I did not say that. She says, I did make reference to Michael being an overseer. Now, Ashley, you were reaching because had Candiace called you a slave, they would have rolled the tapes back and they would have showed it. Now, Ashley says that Candiace does not take accountability for anything. I said, girl, are you on the same planet as the rest of us? Where was your accountability when you were running around saying that Juan and Robin only had $25 in their bank account? Where was all this when you were saying that your good buddy, old pal, in season 3 was an alcoholic? Huh? Where was your accountability for how you did Katie Ross, season 4? I'll wait. If you want to go down memory lane with me, sis, we'll be here all day. You do not take accountability for a damn thing, and neither does your husband. And how comical of you for you to say that Chris is nasty to Michael when Michael is the one who was dissing Chris about his restaurant, saying that he needed to control his wife, and then calling Chris white trash. On what planet is that Chris being nasty to Michael when Michael started all the stuff first? Candiace goes on to say, look, I really don't have any issues with you, to be honest with you, but you're the one who's always coming for me. Then Candiace says, you've done some really effed up things to me. And so she's about to cry. She's just like, look, I don't want to cry right now. And she's just like so pissed. And I know that feeling when you're just so angry and you're like, Lord, I cannot let them see me cry. So Ashley has the nerve to ask, what has she done to offend Candiace? Ashley, are we really doing this? Are we really going to sit here and pretend like we don't know what we've done? You sat there and wrote a statement against Candiace after she was physically assaulted. And you did that out of spite to be evil. And I was really annoyed at how Gizelle and Karen kept trying to interject. And they were like, you know what, Candiace, just get over it. And when Karen said, you know what, you're holding up the group. Like, you two need to talk it out and just work it out. I said, really? So Candiace has to forgive somebody who wrote a statement against her in a legal situation where she was the one who was assaulted. I know good and damn well, had that been Gizelle or Karen, they would never let it go. Karen even said in this reunion how she holds grudges. Did she or did she not? So why does Candiace now have to let it go? Andy wants to know if Candiace ever forgave Ashley for writing the statement against her, and she says no. Then she mentions that she's never denied that Ashley is a good time, and she is able to compartmentalize and like put things to the side, but she knows that she can never trust Ashley. Then Candiace says that the other reason why she just can't get past it is because Ashley is still friends with Monique. And then I think it's Gizelle who goes on to ask if she feels the same way about Karen. Candiace says yes, like she's still angry that Karen is still friends with Monique as well. And I get that, because how could you say that you're my friend and you're friends with somebody who assaulted me? I've told you guys in several videos, I'm very big on loyalty. I'm good to people. If my friend has been attacked or assaulted by somebody, I am not going to befriend the enemy. And I expect for my friends to do the same for me. I'm just not a believer in playing both sides of the fence. I don't believe in that. I feel like people who are like that, let me just say this. It doesn't work. I feel like Karen was dead wrong, and had the tables been turned, Karen would be very hurt if Candiace befriended the person who attacked her. So we're winding down with this reunion, and now we get to the Wendy portion. Andy brings up all of Wendy's surgeries, and he's like, well, what did you have done? So Wendy says that she had her boobs done, BBL, and then she's like, look, let me just say this because I know that a lot of women are dying getting the BBL. Make sure to do your research. Like, I went to a board-certified surgeon, and just make sure that you do the same. Like, don't go to anybody sketchy because it will not be good. Listen, when it comes to anything in life, I want the best, okay? And cosmetic surgery, no exception. The best or nothing. Don't be cheap. If you're considering surgery, do not be cheap. Go to the best doctor, all right? If you're worried about money, go and get some care credit and pay it off like you would a credit card. But do not go somewhere looking for a cheap deal, all right? Don't go anywhere where it's like, $5,000 off. No, spend top dollar. Now, Andy reads a viewer question about Gizelle and Robin making comments about Wendy's changes in her appearance and how they were kind of policing her agency and how it was very anti-woman. So Robin says, not at all. That wasn't our intention. We thought that Wendy looked beautiful, but we just noticed that there were some changes in her personality. Andy chimes in and says, look, I'm not gonna lie to you, but when I saw the first episode, I thought the same thing, like, wow, like this is a change from last season. He goes on to ask Wendy if she feels like Robin asked a fair question. Wendy says it's not about the question, it's about the delivery. And y'all saying that I had no substance and that I was loose, like, how do you think I would feel? Like, how would you feel if somebody said that to you guys? So now Robin says, look, let me just address that. I did not mean that you were loose. Like, that was a poor choice of words. Like, I did not mean that. So now, of course, Gizelle has to chime in too, and she's like, Wendy, all I'm saying is it felt like we were with a brand new castmate. Like, you were just completely different. You went from Call Me Dr. Wendy last season to now you're in people's faces talking about, you know, tick-tock, you don't stop. Like, that's why we said that. It was more about your personality, not your looks. My personal opinion, I don't believe it because the way they kept bringing up the cheating rumors, the way Gizelle said, I wonder if she got this surgery because she's trying to overcompensate about the rumors. So right there, that shows me that it wasn't just about her personality, it was also about her looks. I don't know. I still stand by what I've been saying all season long. I feel like Robin and Gizelle, well, more so Gizelle, was threatened by Wendy's glow up. Folks, love you until you get on the same level as them or you surpass them. You'll be surprised. When you're like, you're the cool one, or people think that, oh, you're the plain Jane, it's all cool. But let you glow up and be a sex pot, now everybody's looking at you with a side eye, upset. I'm just saying, I think that there's a little bit of feeling kind of threatened, like, okay, like, who does she think she is now? Just saying. Andy addresses Wendy rehearsing her reads. She denies it and says that she can handle these women. Now, Wendy, girl, some of those reads do feel kind of rehearsed. I'm just saying, like, some of them reads were kind of tired and stale. Like, girl, you're not the best reader. Just saying. Like, season 7, I feel like you're going to step it up. But some of them reads, it was like, okay, girl. So now Andy brings up Wendy's candle line. He says that watching the show and seeing the episode where Karen announced her candle line, he thought that that was a bit shady. Karen says, now Andy, don't do me, because years ago I said that I was going to be expanding my La Dame business and I said candles. So Andy's like, okay, like whatever. And they did play the tape back and Karen did say that she would be doing a candle line in the future. Now we end the second part with Andy addressing who heard about the Eddie cheating rumors. Candiace says, I didn't hear anything about it. Gizelle and Robin raised their hands saying that they heard the rumor from the same non-credible blog that said that Gizelle had STDs. So Wendy says, look, that blog is read by hundreds of people, but this show is watched by millions of people. So why on earth would Gizelle come on this platform and bring up this lie? Now, Wendy, we all know why she did that, because she needs a storyline. Because Gizelle has been skating by since season 1 with no storyline to her name. And she needs something. And each season, she will always be in the middle of some mess because she's going to be the one bringing it to the forefront. So Gizelle defends her actions by saying that because they all deal with so much social media nonsense, she was doing it under the guise of checking on Wendy and making sure that Wendy was okay. Andy reiterates that at the end of the day, Wendy is upset because you brought a lie on the platform. Gizelle responds back with, well, it's not like I just said it and then left it there. I said that I didn't believe it. So Wendy says, okay, girl, you said that, but then in the next breath, as we saw on that montage that just played, you yourself said, I wonder if she got her body done to overcompensate and keep her man. So then Wendy is really pissed and she's like, you got a whole tummy tuck. Did that keep Jamal? And that's where the episode ends. I said, child, a hot, raggedy mess. Let me tell you something. Wendy was livid. For her to bring up Gizelle getting a tummy tuck and saying, did that keep Jamal? I said, ooh. I know I keep saying it, but I am going to get on this camera and I'm going to do several backflips and cartwheels when we get to the final part. Because truth is, I'm tired. This second part took everything out of me. Please don't ever question my love for you, because if I didn't love you as much as I do, I would have abandoned this show episodes ago. I promise you that. But I know that y'all would have my head if I ever did such a thing, okay? But just know that I love you, all right? Like, I love y'all down. But y'all, that was the episode. I hope you all enjoyed my recap. Thank you all for watching. Next week, it looks like the part 3 is going to be hosted by Nicki Minaj. And I think it's going to be interesting to say the least, all right? But guys, you already know what to do. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And I will see you all for Salt Lake City. Because Salt Lake City, we have a lot to discuss. Especially those last 10 minutes. And that bombshell that Meredith dropped. I said, what? But y'all, let me get off of here so we can talk about SLC, all right? Bye, guys.